Samuel.
Hey, Sydney.
I greatly wish to tell you the latest gossip going about the village.
Lay it on me.
So did you hear that, that Catherine Morland, she likes to roll around in the grass as if.
Damn. Need me a freak like that.
Oh, I could have done Henry Tilney in fashion. That might have been even better. Oh well. Did you hear that Henry Tilney is gay?
I'm glad you're here on this Sunday. I'm going to get right into the message. I'm going to tell it like it is, as they say. Oh, I heard a hallelujah. Do you think I don't know what the hell is going on? And a lot of strange places. Where in the hell have you been? Hell fire! Hell fire! Hell fire! All right. Okay, there's something else, too.
Hello, and welcome to the Satire Fire. I'm Sydney.
And I'm Samuel.
And we're back for part 3 of our series on Northanger Abbey by the one, the only Jane Austen, our girl from the 1700s, our favorite
Absolutely.
Anonymous author. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
so her.
far, favorite anonymous author.
So
we haven't
far.
had any other anonymous authors as far as I'm aware.
But we're talking about Northanger Abbey for the last time today. And, well, actually, I guess we'll be talking about it a little bit next week.
Yeah,
but we'll
we can't make any
that.
promises. It might come back up.
But if you are new here, first, welcome. And second, there's a couple episodes that you might want to listen to before this one. So far we have done an episode where we just went over the plot of this book, told you what's going on, what's the gossip of Bath, England in the late 1700s. And then in the second episode, we talked about who is Jane Austen, what was her life like, what is Gothic fiction, what is Gothic horror, why do Gothic horror, and also why do Regency era. And we kind of just discussed all the historical context that might be relevant for our understanding of this novel. And then today, we're just going to chat about it. We're going to talk about, did we like it? Did we not? Is it relevant? Is it entertaining? Is it good satire? And also the long-awaited ranking of where this falls on our list of the best and worst satire books of all time. So lots of fun things in store. And if you're like completely new and you're still confused after all of that,
It's okay. Just listen. It'll be fun.
okay, just listen. You'll figure it out. We're a podcast about satire. Let's dive in. But before we get into talking about the book and talking about, all our thoughts on it, we like to do a little bit of chit chat, a coffee chat, a wine chat, a seltzer water chat, whatever you're drinking at this hour. Raise a glass. We'll talk about what we've been doing recently. So Samuel, what have you been reading, listening, watching, whatever?
I'm going to let you know that it took everything within me to not hit you with a raise a glass to freedom, which I do think would have extended our Hamilton reference to unprecedented heights.
There's been a bit of a silence for a while. We haven't made any Hamilton references in several weeks.
It's almost as though he
honestly,
died or something.
So it might be about time.
So I wanted to both talk about a book today and pitch an idea for an episode today.
Whoa.
We're doing this live on air.
You're seeing how the sausage gets made.
Exactly.
Right?
You're peeking behind the sausage curtain to see how this podcast is made.
Ew. What is that?
A view into the sausage casing, if you will.
Oh.
I want to talk about, so for context for the audience, we're recording these episodes really soon behind one another, and so the number of books that I've read since the last recording, basically the exact same as the number of episodes that I had read before the last recording. So I don't have like a new read or a new book to talk about. What I instead want to talk about is one of my top 5 favorite books of all time. And if you guys are interested in this, and it's Sydney, if you're interested in this, I think it would be a fun supplemental episode at some point for us each to just have an episode talking about our 5 favorite books and why we like them so much.
That could be really fun.
So, the book that I want to talk about that is in my top 5 is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurty. This is the Western novel. There's a lot of people out there who will potentially dispute that, because there are some other really good ones out there, like True Grit or arguably Blood Meridian. There's a couple of different ones out there that are definitely on the ranking, but for me, this is the Western novel.
You talked about True Grit on an earlier episode, I think, yeah?
I did talk about True Grit because I was in a Western mood, and I wanted to see what the rest of the hype was about, because I had read Lonesome Dove and wanted to get that fix again. And nothing has given it to me quite the same. So, if you are unfamiliar, Lonesome Dove is a American Western epic. It is a huge tome of a book that is following 2 retired Texas marshals who have decided in their late life to start a cattle ranch in Montana, because they've been told that the land in Montana is just waiting to be claimed, and it is so perfect and beautiful that you can't help but raise beautiful cows up there, and if you're the first one to do it, then you're going to become rich off of it. And so what this entire book is just following these 2 old guys and the ragtag group of hands and farmhands and volunteers.
Volunteer army in need of a shower.
As they trek across the United States from Texas all the way up to Montana. And I just want to say, read the first 30 pages. And if you're not hooked, you can put the book down and it's fine. It's okay. Maybe this just isn't for you. But if you have good taste in books, then by page 30, you're going to be like, oh, I think I have to read all 1,500 pages or whatever it is. It is so moving. The characters are so interesting. The plot is so simple, but it still is able to carry you along with interest the entire time. And I think, particularly considering the time in which this book came out, it has relatively progressive things to say about the relationship between white people and indigenous people, and between white people and Mexican people. And it does more than I was expecting it to talk about how, oh, yes, this drive is happening, and as a result of it, you're seeing the devastation that was wrought on indigenous people from having their lands constantly stripped, having their resources constantly taken away from them. And it's just, it's not perfect, because it's an older book. I wouldn't have expected it to be perfect politics in my Western novel. But I think it does a really surprisingly good job most of the time. And I would love to talk more about this book, but this isn't an episode about Lonesome Dove. Maybe we'll have an episode about Lonesome Dove later on, but I love this book. Like I said, it's one of my top 5 favorite books, and I think that everyone should give it a shot. because I think that you could easily go into it assuming that you don't like Westerns, when in reality, maybe you just haven't read a good book that was also a Western yet.
I think we could do an episode where we talk about our 5 favorite books, for sure. By the time everyone's hearing this, there'll be 2 posts in succession on our social media that we're doing little get to know us posts. And so for anyone who listens to the podcast and follows us on one of our social media platforms, you're like, okay, I know this already. But if you just listen to the podcast, head to our social media. There's 2 posts there where we do our 5 favorites of 5 different things. So it's, for both of us, books, movies, TV shows, albums, and then for Samuel, comics, and then for me, Broadway shows. So that's pretty interesting. It's kind of been the most impossible thing ever for me to select these 5 favorites. Like, this doesn't matter because everyone listening, they're already posted, but like the delay has been me trying to, Samuel sent me his like weeks ago, I swear, and I just like don't know what I've gone back and forth on like what are my favorites. But because you talked about one of your 5 favorite books, I'll talk about one of my 5 favorites that's relevant to Northanger Abbey. And also, I feel like this is a theme in that I'm like, one of my favorites is something that Samuel recommended to me. But
so this is insider lore. If you don't know us personally, I'm really good at recommending books.
Yeah, no, I feel like every book you've ever recommended to me, I've been like, whoa, that was so good. Like, I read plenty of books on my own that you don't recommend, but the ones you recommend always end up being either like my favorite of the year or like, in this case, an all-time favorite. And so this book is Sing, Unburied, Sing by Jesmyn Ward. Jesmyn Ward has several other books. A recent book that I purchased, I haven't read yet, that she published, I don't know if it's her most recent book, but I think so. It's called Let Us Descend. People also might know her from Salvage the Bones. That one won a national book award. But anyways, she is a Black author from the South who writes stories about Black stories in the South. Yeah. And this book specifically has like Southern Gothic tones to it and a definite like Southern Gothic element, which I think is really fun. It's a very like character-driven novel in a way. Like, there is a plot, but the plot is just that they're on this like long road trip basically. But you just have this cast of characters that is so human and they're so complex, and you're seeing like how these people are their stories are so intertwined, and who they are today is because of each other, but they also can't like unravel their trauma. And it's just this family is like wrapped up in like addiction, and like one of the family members has been in prison, and then there's like this patriarch like grandfather of the family who's like holding it together, and then this little boy who's just like so endearing. Like, there's just all these characters who almost every single one of them you like love, and you feel empathy for their story. And it's just a beautiful story. And then I love the like spooky Gothic elements and like supernatural elements. And especially like, obviously I can't relate to like Black stories in the South, and like I really appreciate reading them though, because so much of Southern culture has been defined by Black culture.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
But so because of that, like, it's so like, it feels like home in a way, like reading books like this. And I just love it. I've recommended it to a lot of people since Samuel recommended it to me. I borrowed Samuel's copy initially, and then I purchased my own, and I've actually purchased that book for 2 other of my friends, like, as a present, like, please read this book. So I love that book. I'd love to talk about it more. And I think Jesmyn Ward's an excellent author.
Yeah, so, definitely. Yeah. That was a really good... I really remember enjoying that book quite a lot. It's been a while since I've read it, and so it's a little bit hazy. It's probably something that I should reread at this point. But yeah, I would also... I would recommend it. I specifically would recommend it for Sydney, but everyone should read it. And if you would like a more personalized recommendation for yourself, just DM us. Let me know some of the things about you, some of your... or just, DM us, become my friend for approximately 10 years, and then I'll be able to just, absolutely nail you on the head with a book recommendation.
I think you recommended this one to me. I think you gave me a copy of that book around 2020.
Yeah, that sounds
right.
So
it was 5 years ago, and it took me an entire year and a half to read it. Mm-hmm. And then when I finally did read it, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. All right, yeah, great. So maybe there'll be an episode where we talk about our 5 favorites. I think that we'll maybe do some fun, not book series episodes at the end of the year in general. So maybe that'll be one of them.
I've got a fun idea that I'll run by you later.
Okay. Okay, great. So let's talk about Northanger Abbey.
Let's do it.
So a bit of a recap before we get into it. Once again, recommend you listen to the first 2 episodes if you've made it this far. I don't know why you're not listening to me, but but this book is set. It's our oldest book we've covered on the podcast so far. So it's set in the late 1700s, late 18th century. It was written in 1798, published in 1818. Mm-hmm. Very old book, but it's a lot of the elements of it, the gothic elements, the satirical elements, the romance elements, they all are things that exist in books we read today and that are written today, which is really cool. And that's something I really enjoyed about reading such an old book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I guess what we like to do at the beginning of analysis episodes is kind of define what is this book about? What's it trying to say? What are the main themes? So Samuel, take it away. I've been talking so much. What do you think?
I've got a couple of big heavy hitters that I wanted to bring up and talk at least a little bit about. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're going to necessarily agree that they're the biggest parts of the book, but they're the ones that I think are the most interesting to talk about and the most relevant to today. So I'll tell you mine, and then you can tell me yours first. And I think the most obvious, it's very clearly talking about the way in which women are viewed in a patriarchal society, and the way in which women's interests are viewed in a patriarchal society specifically. That's something that I really want to talk about. And then kind of tangential to that and in line with that is it's talking about the way in which literature and novels are perceived. And while I think that today the setting is a lot different and the perception is a lot different in regards to novels, I think there's a lot of really interesting comparisons that you can make from today to this novel when you're talking about how fiction is only for women. And also specifically, women are supposed to be reading very limited, very surface level fiction, whereas it's supposed to be the expectation that men are reading these horizon broadening non-fiction articles, or if you're going to read something fictional, it needs to be expansive and epic and in some way fundamentally altering to your character and morality. I think that those are the 2 things that I want to talk about the most, that I think are the most interesting. Is number 1, what is a woman's role in a patriarchal society? And number 2, what is the purpose of a novel?
Yeah, I think those are two of the three biggest things in this book. The other one, I think, is just a critique of upper class society.
Yeah.
And I would say that's like actually the least interesting of those three topics for sure.
Yeah.
Because like people do that. We've heard critiques of the upper class.
Yeah, we've heard some good critiques of the upper class.
Some good critiques of the upper class. Two other things that like stood out to me about the book that aren't as important but interesting, and I think weren't like very minor, like a few minute discussions, are gender roles in this book, which kind of has to do with how women are portrayed in society. But I think that was interesting. Like each character was either pushing against a pre-designated gender role or like very much falling in line with it. And that's interesting. And then the other thing that just like I loved about this book was the focus on female friendship. I thought that was really fun. And I think knowing about, like, we can actually just like check this one off right now, like knowing about Jane Austen's life and how most of her life, the relationships she had were familial, or like the most important relationships in her life were either with her family members, her sister included, or friends. It's clear that she really valued like the women in her life. And
definitely,
I think that's really cool that she was writing about it. And as someone who identifies as a woman and has some excellent female friendships, I think she really like captured it in a way that felt authentic for me and exciting for me, both in the friendships between Catherine and Isabella, as well as the friendship between Catherine and Eleanor. Like both of them, different friendships. Obviously, Isabella, our girl, is very messy, but like that was something I really loved about this book, and I just wanted to point that out. But I think we can stick with our other three topics of discussion for the rest.
Yeah, I think that is definitely it is a part of the book, and I do see how it could be a part that you get a lot out of. And it feels less like I feel like the way that you're talking about it is kind of how I feel about it as well. I think that is pulling from a place of either gratefulness or longing within Jane Austen herself. And so it feels almost as though it's less that she's making a statement about female friendship and more writing about the things that she knows and writing about the things that she enjoys, and the things that are important to her and the things that she thinks should be important are female friendships. And I think that is a super cool part of it.
So what should we start with? What topic you want to?
I think that I am better equipped to talk about what is the role of a novel in society than I am in what is a woman's role in society.
Oh, really? Why not?
I have some ideas, but I'm going to keep them to myself for now. But if y'all start acting out of pocket, I'll let you know real quick. But so if you wanted to talk about how you viewed the portion that is the woman's role in society as portrayed by Jane Austen, I think that could be a really interesting discussion, but I think you should lead it. Okay.
Let's start with how a novel is viewed in society, because that I think was like, I think I mentioned this last week, but she is both providing, in my opinion, a defense for specifically the genre of Gothic fiction, and as well as a critique of, like, she's satirizing it at the same time, which is like, and then she's also critiquing the way different genres in general are viewed by society. I mean, and that's not something I've really read in a while. Like, I don't know that I, like, it's cool. Like, it's kind of it's like when you look into a mirror and there's another mirror and then there's another mirror. It's you're opening a book and then it's talking about a book and then another book and thinking about books, and that's
yeah,
an interesting thing. I feel like you have specific topics, and then I'll give my comments on them because I have thoughts, but I want you to.
Yeah. So I think that it's really interesting to look at a piece of literature this old that is talking about the problem of novels being devalued, and then kind of compare that to the modern day when I think that novels are incredibly devalued, where I feel as though we're kind of in an era where previously I think that novels were devalued because it was a relatively new invention. It wasn't a thing that was like really broadly popular, being done a tremendous amount yet, or at the very least it didn't have the cultural cachet that novels do today and fiction does today. At that point in time, it was just kind of seen of frivolous and therefore not becoming of somebody who's looking to improve themselves.
Yeah.
And then I think today we're kind of in an era of almost anti-intellectualism, where there's a lot of people who are kind of proud of the fact that they don't read novels and are proud of the fact that they are poorly read in general. And I really wanted to talk about this in relation to like the woman's role in society, because reading this, I couldn't help but continuously think about romantasy books and the way that romantasy is portrayed as a genre in pop culture. And I think that a big reason why romantasy is generally seen as a less than form of literature, one, is because of the marketing side of it. I think that there's a huge push to have more of these books because these books are currently selling, and that tighter turnaround time leads to some books getting released that are of a lesser quality than something that had been given more attention to detail. But on the other hand, I also think that there's a significant amount of just misogyny within it, of these are books that women read and women like, and it is very culturally well established that these are women's books. And women aren't the only people that are reading these books. That would be ridiculous to say. There's plenty of men, there's plenty of non-binary people, there's plenty of everybody that are reading romantasy. It's well selling for a reason, but it's belittled because it's a thing that women are able to enjoy. And so that's really what I kept thinking of in this era, except like we've kind of dialed it specifically right now in this specific cultural moment in a way that in Northanger Abbey it's very broad of, oh, I don't read fiction, I only read nonfiction. And now today you have these guys who are belittling women for reading romantasy, when the longest thing that they've read this year was a Substack that somebody who is like a finance influencer posted. And just having no cultural awareness of the fact that even if it is a poorly written romantasy, this person is gaining stuff from reading that you are willfully avoiding discussing or thinking about or engaging with.
Well, one of the lines in this book that I most enjoyed, that I was thinking about the whole time you were talking, was when Henry, I was looking for it, when he says, the person, be it a gentleman or lady, who has not pleasure in a good novel must be intolerably stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, Henry. But I think this is a really interesting discussion because I'm someone who, romantasy is not my favorite genre. Neither is romance. But I'll read it, not anything, but like, I'll read it. Yeah. I'll read a romantasy. I'll read a romance. Like, I read several books a year that are not good literature.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the fun of it. Often when I'm like struggling to get through something, if I'm in a slump, I'll read a thriller, a romance, something like that, because they're easy to read. And I think that having read some of the more popular, like I read the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I last year read a WLW romantasy book, mm-hmm. Which I actually like really enjoyed. It was a self-published, like an author-published book, and it was like they printed it per purchase. What is that called? I can't remember what that's called exactly.
Like print to order?
Print to order, yeah. It was a print to order, like, published by the author book.
Mm-hmm.
And it did give, like, debut novel vibes, but it wasn't a debut novel, but it's just, like, you know, this isn't a published by a publishing company author. Yeah. But I still, like, really enjoyed it. Like, it was a great story. And I think, like, what I can say about those types of books is that while they aren't, like, works of art in terms of the language used or the literary devices, they're not always the most clever books in the world. They often are very rich in plot.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also, specifically with the romantasy, I haven't read a ton of romantasy, but the world building is really fun.
Definitely.
It takes a lot of effort, I imagine, to build these worlds. It probably doesn't come easily to these authors. It might. I don't know. But, like, it's still, you know, something that I see the appeal is my point. And there are elements of these types of books that I am impressed with as a reader. I prefer, like, a good literary fiction book to a romantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. It's interesting, though, because, there is just this idea that these books don't warrant, like, some people even would go as far to say, like, you're not a reader if you're only reading these books. But there is an extreme of this, too, that I'm, like, concerned by as someone who reads and has been reading my whole life, in that, like, people be reading, like, they're like, here's the 50 books I read last month, and it's like, oh, did you retain it? Or did you retain all that information that you sped through these, like, they're easy to read, and so, like, you sped through them. Or, like, there's a trend I see a lot being on Book Talk for the podcast that's like, I can't remember anything I read, like, when you try to ask me, like, what the book was about, and it's like jokes about how, like, can't remember, or like that kind of thing. Like, it's like almost as if the reading is a metric rather than, like, an enriching activity. And that is really interesting, and I think is often paired with books like romantasy and romance, and that I'm like, maybe we should take a beat and, like, consider why we're even doing this.
I think that, as with basically every pursuit that you go down, reading is an opportunity for you to improve yourself as a person. And in order to do that, you do have to kind of challenge yourself. And that's kind of what I generally try when I'm alternating books that I'm reading. It's similar to what you were saying of, like, reading something that's quicker to get through when you're struggling with reading something. I really like to pepper in every 2, every 3 books, whatever it is, a book that is just dessert. And I like eating my vegetables and reading things that challenge me and interest me and stuff like that. But sometimes it's nice to just eat some junk food. And I'm not worried about my calories right now. I'm just reading something fun. And I do think that there is a little bit of a trend currently when it comes to a lot of books of just eating the junk food and not necessarily eating your vegetables and doing the things that you would need to do in order to become more well-rounded. And I will say that this is something that goes both ways. Of you have some people who read a lot of surface level books, and perhaps for them the vegetables would be reading some literary fiction that's got a little bit more complexity to it. But on the other side, you have finance bros who the only thing that they read are data sheets and reports and articles and stuff like that. And it's been proven time and time and time again, even if you do not learn something tangible from a fiction book, you learn emotional intelligence from it. You gain a degree of compassion and sympathy and empathy, all these things that maybe these finance bros would benefit from. Like maybe for them, the vegetable would be reading a romantasy and learning that other people deserve their care in this world. And so I think that it's incredibly personalized, and as with everything, but I do think, that was something that I thought a lot about while I was reading the book, is that back then it was very like, oh, we don't treat this seriously because it is for women. And today we still have that same thing of this is something that's not treated seriously because it is allegedly for women, which I think leads, unless you had something else to talk about in that, pretty nicely into, well, what does it mean for something to be for a woman? What place does a woman have in the 18th century, and how does that compare to today?
I did want to say, like, before we move into that, the other thing that I think Jane Austen was doing was critiquing, like, she was hitting both ends of the extreme, and we were talking about that a little bit, but, like, you know, Catherine was living too in her head and too in this world that she was trying to make her reality. And that's like when people are like, I won't read books if it doesn't have enough spice, and then they're like expecting their life. I don't like men because they're not like the fictional fairy men and the romantasy books I'm reading. It's like that extreme of we have to separate like fiction from reality, or even like fiction from fairy tale, and reality from fairy tale, and I think that's, you know, that's still relevant today, and it's kind of silly when you think about it, but like I think that's what she was doing with this, like, we can't delve too deep into these ideas of these gothic novels, like we have to remember the reality that we live in as well. There's nothing wrong with reading a fun fiction book, but also
I've definitely seen that. I've seen it to the extent of, and this I think is just like part and parcel with the genre and the current state of books. People today really, really like reading first-person singular books, where it's like, I don't really want to read a book unless I open it up and it says, I thought about this thing, because I presumably it helps some people to put themselves into the fantasy headspace of whatever it is. But I think that that's an extreme end of it, of feeling as though you can't read a book unless it's playing pretend, where it's actually you that's in the book.
But woman's role in society. I think
the kitchen. Sorry.
The kitchen.
Fuck. Oh man. I should. Oh shit. Cut that out.
I think that, like, this because Jane Austen honestly, and kind of in a, like, almost annoying way sometimes, is quite contrarian. Like, she's like, I'm not doing the typical structure of a fiction book, don't you worry. But she also, I think because she lived a different life than a lot of women in society at the time, she probably sees the value in that. Like, in, like, I mean, I can't say if her life was fulfilling. I don't know the girl.
Yeah. I mean, I can guarantee that her life was more fulfilling than a woman who was in the lower classes.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. But she wasn't forced to marry for money or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
She was able to have her autonomy to an extent, as much as a woman in the 18th and 19th century could, but still.
Yeah.
But something that, and I just keep talking about this because it keeps coming up. Everyone's writing about women and the role of a woman, even the men.
Shockingly, mostly the men.
Yeah. But it's just so baffling to me sometimes to think about how we just haven't changed. Like, so much has changed, but so little about, like, who we are at our core and the experiences we have.
Yeah.
And so she talks about, like, a woman getting the attention from a man that she doesn't want that attention from, and feeling like fear and frustration and anxiety about, like, how do I tell him no without telling him no in the wrong way and offending him. You know,
Yeah.
we see that between Catherine and John, and I'm like, looks different today, that's still happening. And she talks about the carefulness with which women, like, how women have to be careful in the language that they use when speaking to people, whether it be men, whether it be other women, whether it be, like, elders. You have to be gracious. You can't say the wrong thing because it might be taken the wrong way. And, like, what if you're out of place, and what if you're overstepping? And in this we see it with, you know, how she's, you know, rejecting John, how she's speaking to Henry, how Catherine is trying to apologize for presumably offending Henry or Eleanor or Isabella. But also there's a line that I really liked specifically in relation to John, where John's basically being manipulative of her, as he does.
Yeah.
And it's when they're all trying to convince Catherine to go on this journey out of Bath for the day to see this castle, and Catherine has a prior engagement with Henry and Eleanor, and so she's trying to say no, and they're pressuring her, and she's trying to so politely say no to them, and they won't take no for an answer. And she suggests that John takes one of his sisters instead of her, and John's like, I didn't come to Bath to drive my sisters around. I only would gain pleasure from driving you. Like, I'm here to drive you around. I'm here for your happiness, which is such, like, a manipulative thing to say.
Yeah.
But it's like a backhanded compliment. And Catherine responds with, that is a compliment which gives me no pleasure. And I was like, that ate. Like, that was such a good line. Just because you say it in a complimentary way doesn't mean it's an okay thing to say. And I'm like, that's something that women in bars across the world are dealing with. Just because you're complimenting me doesn't mean that was okay for you to say. And like, that's what she was doing right there. And I was like, that's such, she's getting it. She's getting the female experience of, like, how do I tell someone to stop talking to me like that without saying it in a way that's gonna anger or upset them?
Yeah.
And that happens in the workplace. That happens with flirtations, that happens with friendships, that happens with family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different standard that women, even today, even in the 21st century, live by than men often.
Yeah.
In terms of like, how can we speak to people and it not be taken the wrong way. And those are just two examples of things that she like hit on the nose of like the experience of a woman in society. But
Mm-hmm.
it continually, with every book that we discuss, this amazes me that it's just the same.
Yeah, it's the If Books Could Kill podcast only covers nonfiction books, but they have this running gag with all of their self-help pseudoscientific nonfiction books that really, at the end of the day, they're all boiling down to one thing. And really, it's all just one book that's been rewritten a bunch of different times. And I think that we could make the same argument with a lot of satire of it's all the same book. We're just living in different times and it's written in a slightly different way. But the problems that they are complaining about, or not necessarily complaining, that is a negative connotation, but the problems that existed that sparked the writing of Northanger Abbey were the same problems that sparked 1984, were the same problems that sparked Slapstick, were the same problems that sparked American Psycho, were the same problems that sparked Her Body and Other Parties. Like, we've read the same book. I don't know if you guys have put two and two together yet. It's all the same book.
There's definitely like consistent through lines in each book that just, they're obviously all very different, but yeah,
somebody
sure.
go like Mental Palace pins in a board with the red thread tying all of our books together to try and like web map out like a serial killer exactly what connects all of the different books, and eventually we'll have a huge and beautiful word grid that connects every satirical book through one beautiful mind.
This is like in the L Word, the map that connects all the lesbians together, the web of lesbians, how like...
all of the lines go through Portland.
Yes. In the L Word, it's LA, but yeah. Definitely. Guys, if you've ever tried to date in Portland as a queer person, it's really interesting.
It's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel, but none of the fish are particularly attractive.
And just like, if you're not into polyamory, just make sure you like ask people if they are, because sometimes they have partners and they're not telling you.
Which is fine, but maybe you should tell people.
It's something you communicate with people. You know, live your life how you want to live it, but communicate things that are important to communicate as well. But I also like with this topic of how women are all the same. No, how the role of a woman. I've been
saying this. I cannot tell you bitches apart.
It's been consistent throughout history with that idea. I also want to talk a little bit about gender roles, because I think this book had some interesting things to say about gender roles. We've already talked a little bit about how, you know, for example, Catherine's not like the other girls.
Mm-hmm.
She likes to roll around in the grass. She likes to play sports. You know, she's not good at keeping house. Like, there's a very funny line near the end after Henry proposes where her mother says Catherine would make a sad, heedless young housekeeper, to be sure.
Same.
It's like, are you sure you want to marry her, Henry? She's not. But we also, you know, talked a little bit about how Henry's not like the other boys. He knows fashion. He reads novels and fiction and Gothic literature. He makes remarks that are also contrarian to polite society, to the upper echelon. There's one specific page that I think was a good reference to this, where they are dancing, and Henry and Catherine, and he asks her what she's going to write in her journal that night about this encounter.
Yeah.
And prior to this, he had already been like, wait, let's have the conversation we're supposed to have. How long have you been in Bath? Have you been to the theater? And he's like doing it in a very like humorous, deadpan almost way of like, let's make sure we do all the things we're supposed to do. Now let's get into the juicy stuff. What are you going to write in your journal about me tonight? And she's just loving it because Catherine, she's not like the other girl. She loves that kind of conversation. She's eating it up, and she's like, well, perhaps I keep no journal. And he's like, perhaps you are not sitting in this room and I am not sitting by you. These are points in which a doubt is equally possible. Not keep a journal. How are your absent cousins to understand the tenor of your life in Bath without one? How are the civilities and compliments of every day to be related as they ought to be unless noted down every evening in a journal? And he goes on like, how are your dresses to be remembered and things like that. And he's mocking the fact that like it's expected that women are just like gossips keeping journals and like and that's really fun, and it's showing that he recognizes the absurdity of gender roles in society. Yeah. And what an interesting thing to write in 1798. But that was also an aspect I really liked about the book and I thought was fun. And the introduction discusses it a bit. Yeah. And so you go back and read that, or anyone who has this version, make sure you read the introduction if you want to hear other people's thoughts about gender roles in the Regency era. But I think, did you have any other thoughts, anything else before we get into like our feelings about the book? And
no, I think that covers it. That's all that I wanted to talk about as far as like what I was going to pull from as my justification for how I feel about the book.
So before we get into like our reviews of this book, we're going to do this thing that we do with all the books we read, which is go through the 5 bookmarks of satire. These are just 5 markers that we use to determine how satirical something is. They're the same every time. And they are, first of all, humor, which this was quite funny.
Yeah,
so
definitely a funny book.
Definitely. And then we have exaggeration, which I would say it does that.
Yeah, I think so.
And then irony, I think so.
I think that particularly the points at which the narrator is interjecting are rather ironic.
Yeah. And then ridicule, I think I am unsure. I think it is making fun of some things for sure, but I don't know if you call that ridicule or not, or if that's just an extension of the humor.
Yeah, I feel like it's an extension of the humor because I don't feel as though it's pointed enough to say this is what we are ridiculing. Okay.
And then lastly, critique. And as we say every time, a satirical novel basically has to have critique. So yeah. So that's 4 out of 5. That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
All right. Before we tell you our reviews of this book, we're going to play a game where we read some of your reviews, or at least some Goodreads reviews of this book. Usually, unless we really hated a book, we read like 1-star or even half-star reviews, just because those often are the funniest. So these are all 1-star reviews of Northanger Abbey. I've sent 2 to Samuel, and I have 2, so Samuel you can read it whichever one you want first.
Okay, so up first is a 1-star review from 2011 by Vivian. Okay, tossing in the towel on this one with a DNF. I probably could finish it. It's sophomoric and immature. Austen's first penned novel and last published posthumously, if I recall correctly, and for good reason. My favorite Austen novel, and one I've read multiple times, is Sense and Sensibility. Honestly, I'd rather reread it than trudge through Northanger Abbey just to say I did. There is no shame in walking away from a book, for either of us. Perhaps another time it will ring true for me, but it is not that time. Lord knows I've done it to Brothers Karamazov at least 3 times.
This was just so funny to me because it felt like Vivian spent the entire review like justifying to herself that it was okay that she didn't finish this book.
Yeah, I mean,
which is fine.
Understandable. Yeah, it doesn't have very much as to why she doesn't like the book. But I do agree with you. It's okay to not finish a book if you're not into it.
It was just, I was like, it's interesting you took the time to write this review that told me nothing other than it's okay not to finish books. And I didn't finish this one. And I've done that 3 times with Brothers Karamazov, by the way. I don't know why that's relevant, but I've done it. So I was like, all right. This one was very recent. It was this year, May 2025, by Rachel. And I like Rachel. And I mean this with like the utmost, like, sincerity, and I'm not making fun of you. I like, if you hear this ever, I want to know why you think you didn't get what you were promised, because it says I was promised a gothic satire. And is it maybe because it's only in the second half primarily of the book, or
I think that the issue is that modern day the concept of gothic has been really redefined in the public imagination to not be what it actually means. And also I feel like modern day satire is like so punchy that it's like so on the nose that I think that this person was just kind of wanting a emo version of a Kurt Vonnegut book.
a book not written in the 1700s.
Yes, exactly.
Because I was like, well, you were given a gothic satire.
Yeah.
But I mean...
Okay, this one is also a 1-star review from 2022 by R. I respect the historical significance of this book. I believe it had something to do with the rise of novels during its time. I could be wrong. However, regardless of historical importance, it is a remarkably uninteresting read.
The rise of novels.
It's got something to do with... this book? It's got something to do with books.
It kind of seems like it has something to do with books, but I didn't like it. Cool. All right. And then, the main critique of this book is it's very boring. That's like what I was seeing over and over again, is that people find it boring. I found it hilarious enough that it wasn't boring to me, but
okay.
I see the critique. I see it. I hear your critique. Anyways, this person, I'm not going to try to pronounce their name because I'm not really sure how, but it was a 1-star review from 2022. And it says, I kind of feel bad for rating this so low, but this was such a slog to get through. No wonder this was published posthumously. I imagine that Jane Austen's spirit is somewhere out there face-palming over the fact that her manuscript actually saw the light of day. There's something very clunky about the way that the book progressed. Like, did we really have to idle around Bath for 2/3 of the book before we actually get to the Abbey? Catherine was an absolute blockhead. Henry didn't even seem to be romantically interested in her, and I'm just so bored that I can't even continue reviewing this. Goodbye. That was funny.
Fair enough.
Jane Austen face palming in her grave, like, I can't believe they published this book that I worked on.
This book that I sent in manuscripts for.
That was sold. I can't believe it got published. But yeah, what's your review, Samuel? What did you think of the book?
So, it's time for a satire fire confession.
Oh no.
I think this is a really good book. I think that it is saying some really, really important things, and it is very funny I didn't finish this book.
What?
So in the plot synopsis episode, you talked about, man, sometimes John is talking and you get in the middle of the sentence and you're like, man, I don't know if I really want to finish this book. I didn't. I got into the middle of John talking and I quit. And
John did really make me not want to read the book as well. I get it.
I think that it is, again, very good. It is just not for me. I can't. Yeah. I have such a tough time reading Regency era, Gregorian, like all of these. This style of novel is just really, really tough for me to get through. It's the same as in modern day. Some people have this like postmodern style of writing where they only write one sentence, and the one sentence is the entire book. So like septology is like that, as well as, I forget the full title, but it's Dux Ellington or something like that. Both of those books are just one sentence, and both of them I've picked up and tried to read, and I have just had to admit to myself, I can't read books if it doesn't have more than one sentence.
Wait, it's like no punctuation? Like it's
got commas.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What was the point of that?
And I think that I'm kind of in a similar boat with Regency era books where I can appreciate what this book is doing and the quality that it has. Even in the moments where I could see why it was good and could see the interesting critiques and could feel the humor and could see where it was clicking, I just, in between those moments of clarity, my eyes glazed over and rolled back into my head, and like I had been possessed by my 12-year-old self who was being forced to read Charles Dickens yet again. And so I see some of the critiques of this book. I do think that in comparison to some of her other books, I think that this is a little bit more juvenile. It's not quite as well put together and crafted, but still, I think that it's tough. So have we established if we're allowed to give half-star rankings on the Satire Fire? Or are we going with the full Goodreads system of it has to be a full star?
As a person, I try not to give half stars just because it makes averaging harder. But you can. I don't know why we can't. Like.
So I'm we'll stick with that for as long as we can. I think this is a really soft 4. Like, I think that I would lean towards a 3.5 if I was giving half-star rankings, but I would round it up. I think that my personal enjoyment of the book is like 2 stars, maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
But I think that I can recognize the fact that this, even though I don't like it, it is a 4-star book.
Yeah, I think that's similar to how I felt about American Psycho, so that makes sense. And I do see the criticism that it's boring because especially if you're focusing on the plot and less like I'm reading this book from a Satire Fire perspective of trying to take note of literary choices and satirical elements and what's she trying to say, and so it's more interesting for me because I'm doing that. But if you're not doing that and you're just reading it to like read a book and what's the plot, then I can see how it'd be boring. There is a large portion of it that they're just it all runs together. It's not even
sitting in rooms and talking.
Yeah. That being said, I really enjoyed it. It made me laugh out loud a couple times. There were some lines that I was like, yeah, that was good writing. The punctuation, crazy. Jane Austen's AI, stand by it. But I gave it 4 stars because I definitely think it's a 4-star book. But Yeah, so that puts us at all our top 5 books are all 4-star average for us. So it's
so where is this one gonna slot into our ranking?
So if you're new here, or as just a reminder, right now we've read 7 books so far on the podcast, with our top 5 being in order: 1984 by George Orwell, Slapstick by Kurt Vonnegut, Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kristen Miller, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, and then at 5 is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. And then the worst satirical book we've read so far, Fahrenheit 451. So we got to figure out where to put this 8th book. I'm thinking that I think it's a really good satire. But if we're thinking about the satirical elements, but I don't think it's as good of a story as like Lula Dean, for example.
I think that I'm willing to take either 4th and it bumps American Psycho down, or 5th and it bumps everything below American Psycho down. I personally liked American Psycho a lot more, but I'm not gonna die on the hill that it has to be worse than American Psycho.
I think they fall in similar place. It's kind of difficult because, like, I feel about American Psycho the way you feel about this book.
Yeah.
I could go either way too. I think they're equally good satire.
I think that I feel like it belongs in the 5 spot, because I think there are other Jane Austen books that are probably going to go higher than it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the best Jane Austen satire, I don't think. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to have to try to get through more Jane Austen. That means.
At some point, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So this is Her Body and Other Parties got knocked out of the top 5, and now this is the 5th best book we've read. So that will do it. Next week we will be doing an interlude episode in between this book and our next book. Our interlude episode is going to be about the Northanger Abbey 2007 movie adaptation. And then after that, we will be starting our next book series, which is what, Samuel?
Our next series, which I get the privilege of leading us through, is going to be one of my favorite books, and so I'm really stoked on reading it and talking about it. The cult classic, the underground sensation, the Russian Romeo himself. We are going to be reading Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Which, if you think there's even a shot that during that series I'm not going to say his name in a way that makes me sound like a fucking tool, you're wrong. I'm hitting that duh every time.
Dostoevsky. Yeah, so stay tuned. Lots of fun things coming up. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to have some fun episodes coming at the end of the year for the holidays. Partly to give us a break from reading a book every month and preparing, but also just, everyone's busy during the holidays, and that way you can have just some kind of easy listening, fun content, a romantasy podcast episode for no, not about romantasy, but so thanks for being here today. If you want to keep in touch with us between now and next Sunday, we can be found on Instagram at the Satire Fire Pod, Pod, and on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at the Satire Fire. Follow us, like, subscribe, comment, DM. Samuel will give you book recs, whatever you want to do. We appreciate it. Share the podcast with your friends, with your family, with your exes. whatever makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're looking to reconnect during the holiday season, be like, hey, here's this really good podcast I listened to.
Yeah, let us be the reason for the season. Our intro and outro are remixes of the song 48 by Culla. And yeah, like Sydney said, thanks so much for listening, and we're going to be very excited to see you again next week for a movie episode, which is always my bag.
All right. We'll see you next week. This has been the Satire Fire. I'm Sydney.
And I'm Samuel.
Cheerio.
Bye.
I just about come to the end of the road. Here, I've just about lost patience with you people. You get your ass out into the mountains or someplace, or hide in there and watch that damn tube. But if not, fuck it. I'm done. In fact, my sermon